Good evening, everyone. We can call to order the May 23rd, 2024 meeting of the North Beach Planning Commission. We have 3 items on the agenda tonight. I do not believe we have minutes to approve, correct?
That's not on
I
the,
didn't
It's
see
not
that.
on here, so I'm
Correct.
guessing.
Correct. No,
we
I
got
haven't
it.
finished them yet.
Okay, great. Maybe Rick, if you can briefly maybe run us through what we have tonight, just in terms of what we might want to, put on the agenda first, and what can be done quickly, and what might take some more discussion.
I think they are in good order.
Good order? Okay.
So, the first item, 8832 Frederick, has been before the planning commission previously. It is the lot that came in for replatting. There was previously a question whether you could approve, or whether the Board of Appeals could approve a variance to create a lot that was smaller than 37.5 feet. It did go to the Board of Appeals, went through legal review. The new lot was created at 35 feet. The adjoining lot 40 feet.
Okay.
And the variances for a house were approved at that same Board of Appeals meeting. So they are now back before you to propose a house to be built on the 35-foot wide lot.
with different setbacks on the sides.
Yeah,
Approved
5 foot.
5-foot setback.
It looks like 5 feet on both sides. Is that right?
So the 3.5-foot setback on lot 7R has already been approved.
With the replat, correct.
Okay. And what happens to the residual of lot 6? What is that? It becomes a 25-foot wide lot, or?
Or is that part of the other property?
That's part of another property. That was never part of the original lot.
So it was part of lot 6.
Yeah, half of lot 6 is owned by someone else.
Okay. So the next
Presumably lot
line is
5.
now, is the property, is the new property
So
line.
lot 5 and 6 is contiguous, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
The only thing we're reviewing is the variance on the side setback.
Right, to 5 feet.
The side setbacks have been approved
Okay.
at Board of Appeals. So you have a current plan for stormwater, water quality management plan, and you have the visual of what the house will look like on both elevations, including the front. A visual representation of a similar house that was built. And then underneath, you can see that width of the house, depth of the house, and the height of the house is max ridge height is of 30 feet.
33. A note on here, it says no off-street parking for existing house on 7R.
But that's an existing house.
The new house. With off-street parking.
The new house has off-street parking, and 8834 has, since this site plan was developed, has put in 2 spaces up front now on the additional house too. So both of those houses will now
Have off-street parking.
off-street parking.
The parking space on the new house, is that utilizing the existing driveway?
Are you talking about the new one that we're talking about tonight?
Part of it will be from the existing driveway, but it'll go over.
I'm asking because it looks like on this, part of the parking spots are over that little ditch, the gully there.
They've got a culvert pipe ready to go
Yeah,
in
so
there.
how would they manage that? And are they existing or in some way, or?
Well, it looks like
There
Your
is,
picture?
to the photograph.
there
Yes.
is,
Oh, this one?
a lamp somewhere there.
Well, they've already got the driveway in there, so
This-
have they already done,
They did a culvert, so they did
they've done it already
see
underneath
that
it?
big pipe there?
Yep, that was
That's
underneath it.
getting ready to go underneath the new
New one,
driveway.
okay,
Yeah. So
great.
this is all dug out here, ready for a new culvert.
But was there an existing parking pad there,
There's an existing driveway, asphalt
Driveway.
driveway.
the driveway?
It was a driveway for the house that.
Oh, on the side and then,
Yeah.
They went back to
There you
that
go.
garage that's taken out.
Jerome.
Sure, there it is. There's,
oh, I see.
there you go.
Okay, so they'll basically keep that.
Probably a little wider for 2 cars.
Yeah.
35 feet,
I mean, the drive,
the parking space.
full width of the lot.
Yeah, not a fan of those, but. Nothing to do with it.
Were they gonna go over where the current pipe is?
They're replacing
The
the current.
culvert remains, but the
Mhm.
part that'll be under the driveway will be corrugated plastic pipe.
That's gonna be new.
Okay, so the existing driveway is getting widened a little bit.
Correct.
Yeah.
I just didn't, the way it looks on here, it's like you would have to pull into the parking spot and like scoot your car over.
So what are we're simply approving the idea that we can build on a smaller lot size?
So the lot's already been approved and the
Okay.
setbacks have been approved. You're basically looking at the architectural design and the height and make sure it meets all of the other ordinance regulations.
Okay, yeah,
Is that something you can do?
No, and that's to come before the plan commission.
Does it? Okay, because it went through appeals first?
Yeah.
Okay,
And so it meets everything else, it meets height.
Yeah.
Architectural, like is.
Yeah.
There's no odd colors or anything that would be questionable, so.
Should this application reference lot 24 now? Because it's a new lot?
So we just use the same,
Because 6 is, you say contiguous with lot 5 now.
yeah, so that lot, like you can see on
Yeah.
that lot's here.
That's 5, that's 5 and part of 6.
And then the other half is there.
But this is now called lot 20.
It will be, yeah.
Okay, so I was just saying on the application, did it need to be?
Yeah, that was from the original application that came here
Okay.
first and then went to Board of Appeals.
All right.
Is now that.
seems pretty straightforward.
Yep.
At least in terms of what we need
I have
to
a
do.
question.
Yeah, normally they would have come here for the recommendation for setbacks,
Yeah,
but those were done when the recommendation for the replat was done.
Right.
So once it went to the Board of Appeals, it was all done at the same time, so now it's just back for the House approval.
And wasn't this the one where when the replat was gonna be sort of an odd shaped replat and we
No, that
actually,
was for Johnstown.
No,
That was
Sorry.
another one.
okay.
Close, one street over.
Isn't the maximum ridge height 40 foot in the R1?
It is, the house, max ridge height for this house for its elevation will be 30 feet.
Correct, 33, but it's just here. Oh, that's there. Okay, 30 feet.
Yeah.
And do we know what that is? Like an elevator pit or bomb shelter? What is it?
Oh, there's 3 circles in the back?
No, this here.
Oh,
What
that
is- what
thing.
is this that looks like it's below grade? Okay, is it on the left elevation? I don't know if it's a bomb shelter or whatever.
Might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, or an elevator pit or something. I don't know. Yeah, okay.
It was on the landscaping plan.
Well, I think that picture is from someplace else. It's,
It's included with the water quality management plan.
It's very nicely done.
Although you said where.
oh, I
instead
think
of
that's,
something.
I think it's just an example.
The
For that,
landscape
well,
Attached to this?
the attachment, you mean the last picture or?
No,
Oh, you mean the
page 5,
the last?
page 5. was
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's a water quality plan.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
it's
I'm,
nice to see which plants are going in and where they're gonna go.
Those bigger circles, the CC, that designating some kind of a tree or,
That is, there, I believe there's a,
CCs or eastern redbuds.
oh.
oh,
okay.
nice,
Yeah,
nice
there's
local,
a plant list and, explanation.
Inch and a half count.
right.
I think they're supposed to all be local.
Yeah, no, the red buds are, yeah, looks great,
Northern Bayberry.
yeah.
And if you're interested in all the math, it's right below it.
This doesn't show where the, doesn't show where the air handler is or any of the, any of that for the property.
Yeah, none of the mechanicals, that'll all go with the construction permit for the county.
Sometimes we get it and sometimes we don't.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the plan as submitted. I know that's not the correct verbiage
I think it is.
Yeah.
For 8832.
for
Second.
8832 Frederick Avenue.
Okay, do you have any questions?
A second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
See, when Tom has the, when he has the plans for the county ready to stamp, just let me know.
Oh, you sent it to me.
Okay,
Thank you.
Now that it's been approved, can I ask, is this a spec house or do you already have, the person,
My wife wants to live there.
he has good taste, okay.
She's the boss.
You know.
Congratulations. Yeah, be nice. Great. Second one, I'm assuming is the business application. Yeah,
yeah, so, the business application for the Elisa's Market was here previously.
hey, good evening.
There were questions prior that the site plan presented was not accurate, it was a little off scale. The ones presented tonight are not to scale, but they have been approved or submittal to the county, so they've met what they need. It does have a clear image of what the parking will be that's proposed.
So there were two submitted. Is this one void now?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that, when I submitted it, it was, wrong, but I had them labeled the same in the computer. So
Okay. And was the J. Calvin Wood proposal based on this plan or the 9-space
Well,
plan?
So the J. Calvin Wood was based on like 13 spaces, whatever it was.
Yeah, this plan.
Yeah, this one is gonna be for 9 spaces. Which is gonna leave a lot more room for green space on the lot. The proposal for the parking spaces is going to be permeable. They're going to be proposing geogrid with, pebbles. And then the rest left as green space. There will be one curb cut out. So one of the site plans is submitted, it shows where the parking will be as it's attached to the
Mhm.
building, and then the other one is just a better idea of the size. So if you look at the second one, you'll see it shows there is enough room for 9 spaces at 18 foot in depth, 9 foot wide, and then a 20-foot aisle. The regulation is only 10-foot aisle for parallel parking. There's enough space to do 20 so you can get in and out traffic.
This isn't parallel.
I mean,
Perpendicular.
perpendicular parking.
But it's
It- it-
different than the flow we saw previously. This looks like an in and out flow from 7th Street.
So those are the things that you were gonna discuss
Yeah,
when you asked them to come back. I mean,
okay,
there are options to have it go one way, whether you wanted them to enter from Bay Avenue down the alley
Yeah.
go around or one way from Seventh Street, but there is enough room to do the 9 spaces with in and out traffic going the same way.
I wish Dan Kelch was here because I wasn't quite clear on this. If you have an 18-foot depth parking that is to the wall of the building, obviously you can't touch the building with your car, so you have to have an offset, and I know they're proposing wheel stops.
Yep.
How far off the wall will the wheel stops be? And then does that depth of that parking become even deeper than 18 and the drive lane less than 20? I mean, my pickup truck is 20 foot long. So I was concerned that you really didn't have a 20-foot drive lane by the time you put in the wheel stops. And then the second thing is there's no curb or gutter proposed by J. Calvin Wood between the parking, which is going to be RC6 according to their proposal, not pea gravel.
Yeah, that was the original one. He was supposed to have another one done. Have you spoke to him?
Yeah, because he went to Florida, he was already planned, he got everything be ready on Tuesday, by the end of the day.
So
we had-
my
we had a-
question was,
We had a meeting on Monday.
yeah,
And so the CR6 proposal that was done, as far as the state was concerned, would not be permeable, would have been the same as asphalt, or
what's the difference between pea gravel and RC6?
it doesn't, the CR6 doesn't drain.
Well, my
Once it compacts it, the water
Yeah,
sits on
just it
top of it.
flows
It
off.
doesn't- it flows off.
Yeah, but the grid,
The geogrid with
Yeah.
the pea gravel, it flows straight through just like grass.
Well, they have GeoGrid, they would put GeoGrid underneath pea gravel regardless.
Not underneath the CR6, it would just been compact with the gravel on top.
Why no filter fabric or no GeoGrid
The
to keep it
geogrid,
from running?
yeah, the geogrid, they would just, the CR6, they just compact it. There's no geogrid at all.
Under the RC6 or the
Yeah.
pea
Under
gravel?
the pea gravel, there will be,
Okay, all right.
so they don't won't run. So the whole lot will stay permeable as opposed to.
Okay. So my only concern with pea gravel is it has a tendency to spread on the public sidewalk and into the street, which creates a problem for pedestrians.
Well, that's why you have that grid underneath it.
That's why.
No, the grid just keeps it from rutting. What's on the surface,
Yeah.
as you go in and out and in and out and in and out, is that pea gravel will continue to go out into the roadway and into the sidewalk. The
Yeah.
RC6 doesn't spread like that because it's, it's 3/4 inch. So pea gravel, there's a concern that that'll affect the,
yeah,
Yes,
could
yeah.
they, I mean, could they do some kind of small permeable, I mean, non-permeable, at the lip, like coming in? You know what I mean, like a buffer kind of, I know what you mean, the pea gravel,
Little hump.
no, not a hump, but I'm
Actually,
saying,
you could
instead of
do-
having the pea gravel go right
Still
up
do
to.
a permeable, what you could do is, as opposed to going towards the curb cut,
Yeah.
instead of the pea gravel there.
Right up to it.
You could just do grass. You could do the grass in the geogrid.
well, you're talking about real GeoGrid,
Yes,
real GeoGrid.
yep,
Okay, is that what they were proposing for the pea gravel, GeoGrid or filter fabric?
no, geogrid.
Okay, because those terms are used interchangeably,
You know, this is geogrid
right?
locked.
That's up
pattern.
right up on the
Yeah.
top and the grass
Okay.
grows through the opening and
Yeah,
Yeah.
that might, something like that. I think you're right. Cause honestly, if pea gravel gets on the sidewalk, the town's liable.
I
Like
mean, it
for
hasn't been
people,
much, I mean,
yeah,
Mexico's parking lot has 68 tons of it,
yeah,
and we've never
Never had an
cleaned it
issue.
up on the sidewalk there.
okay.
We had any issues though with because that area does tend to flood in super high tides and big storms. Has there been any issue with any of the pea gravel making it into the stormwater system?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
That's a good
But
question.
to avoid that, you could still, that geogrid will go all the way across the in and out lane. So you could do similar to, like the cattle stops you see. where they
Yeah, the
put
bars,
grids across.
yeah,
Instead of the pea gravel across where it comes in and out, you could do a 2-foot or a 3-foot wide grass section.
yeah.
Like people do in their driveways, and then if there is pea gravel on the tires, it would get. It should get
Well,
water coming through there.
Is it an option to make it a drive-through from Bay Avenue? instead of in and out on Seventh Street. The reason I ask is, as this lot gets narrower and narrower,
So when
Down
I've got
here in
that
this
arrow
corner.
pointing,
yeah.
so this is at 20 feet. The drive lane needs to be 22 for perpendicular. There is 3.5 feet left.
Well, that shed would have to go, right?
This shed, both of those sheds are going.
Okay. So in that, as it comes down and becomes narrower, it makes it a lot more difficult for somebody to back out of there and
Yeah,
go.
that shed will be gone. Both of those sheds that you see,
Mhm.
they are coming out.
And my earlier comment was there wasn't really anything to divide the parking from the green space to prevent people from actually backing up onto the green space.
So when he does the grading permit for the county, they will be required to have some plantings. So even though this is less than 5,000 square feet, even though it's going to be fully permeable, the county is not going to require stormwater management. But their new regulations do require grading permits for any grading at all within the critical area. So we'll have to go through a full county grading permit application and approval.
Don't we have to have perimeter landscaping because there's more than 6 parking spaces?
So it doesn't necessarily have to be landscaping. It says, have to have shielding so there is a fence all the way around, but I don't believe Mr. Patrick is opposed to planting plants or trees as well.
I was reading through section 5. And, yeah. Because one place I was reading, chain link and picket fences are unacceptable. That's 5-404 under screening requirements. And then the next section is the perimeter landscaping section. And section C says, on a landscaping strip adjacent to a street right of way or to an R1 and R2 district, which would be that there because we've got the residential boardwalk. Compact evergreen hedge, an ornamental wall, or a wooden fence of not less than 42 inches high is required to reduce the visual impact.
I believe there's a privacy fence all
All the
along
way
those,
on the back
those
there is.
properties, right?
All of them,
Not all of them.
all but the one on the very
The
end.
one on the end is not, that has,
Yeah.
they have chain.
They have a chain link there.
But that's their chain link.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you
it
could
is.
have him plant plants along that
Chain link,
12 feet of fence there,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's a pretty small little piece there.
The idea of them driving in, let's say Bay Avenue and going out 7th or vice versa, I think that would create a little bit more of a problem on Bay Avenue, going in or going out that way because of people walking around the way they do. It's, very casual walking. I mean, I like the idea of being able to pull in off of 7th and then pull out on 7th.
Because on Seventh Street is one way, so they just go.
Yeah, isn't that gonna provide a lot of more traffic on Atlantic now?
Well, no, you can also go straight on Annapolis.
I don't believe you'll be able to.
No, I think
You
it's
can't
too,
go-
doesn't line up.
Down.
Yeah, it doesn't line up. So all the traffic will have to
But
go out
coming
there.
out on the Bay Avenue, I mean, it's your same concern. So Bay Avenue is one way, it's a smaller alley.
Hmm.
It's going across the bike path.
But the Bay Avenue got more kids and adults who work with the kids and things. That's is more available and more.
And it would be one way anyway from Bay Avenue. It
And
would
then when
only
you
be
have-
an entrance.
Right, and then when you have events such as First Fridays,
Yeah.
then he's out of business because people can't park because they won't be able to get out.
Well, they could get out
On
on
7th.
7th.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not a wide alley
It's tiny.
there. It's tiny.
Right,
So there's not, and when you've got the planter beds there, that turning radius there, I wouldn't try it in a car.
Yeah, it's
I
very
wouldn't
small.
try it.
so in and out of 7th.
And on top of that,
Yeah.
on that alley, you got three houses. Get in, so yeah, it creates some drama issue. Because sometimes each house will come from the back, should go next door, or whatever, walk with the dog. Based on what I've been saying, so the alley is very,
How are you going to load in and out?
on the avenue, they park straight on the alley, they get a thing and go to. my
In the
entrance.
alley? They're gonna go in the alley?
Yeah, but not with a car, they would park next to,
Or on bay,
yes. That's what all the thing I've been saying, yeah.
in front of the Bakest?
No, in front of the post office.
Yeah.
Because in the alley, they park
My
there.
suggestion would be on 7th Street. I mean, that's where everything else is being delivered now.
Right,
It's probably easier.
Okay,
Now, depending if you have deliveries that are coming in a van or,
yeah, no, in the van, what's the thing we come in the van?
well, yeah, if it's not a tractor trailer, then the alley is fine.
Box truck, right?
Box trucks, yeah.
where are you gonna have your dumpster?
Dumpster is right behind, in the alley on my wall.
Little square cut out.
Okay, is that, okay,
Oh, is it right here? This little
Yes,
bump out?
as soon the corner between my alley and the
This
other
comes
wall.
out and this goes out.
Yes, yes.
So how's a dumpster truck gonna come in and make that turn and get there? Seems to me they need to go straight in and back out.
And then, I mean, that's a possibility too. We could always, when he does the landscape plan, try to get it as far away from the houses as we can.
Is that gonna create a problem having food waste? Dumpster in someone's
Dumpster would be
backyard?
more for boxes, so we'll bring boxes and put it in.
Well, it's all packaged good, so it's
Yeah.
not cooked food.
No, it's-
Yeah. Oh,
well, you're doing coffee, which means you're gonna have cream and sugar and such, and.
And that called recycle. We have a company, so we have a thing, they come every Monday, they pick it up.
Once a week?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
So that brings up the question of pest control. In terms of people's, having a dumpster in the, out there with food. I mean, it's not the only one, right? Mexico I'm sure does, and Baker's probably does too. This one happens to just back up to people's backyards, though.
but it's
Yeah,
gonna
we
be,
could
it's gonna be adjacent to his building, so it's really not gonna be,
Well, I'm
Backing.
talking about here.
what's gonna,
No, the dumpster is right in the corner on my wall. I mean, as soon as you end
see a
it,
little bump out on that blue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's all it was.
What's that?
That's, yeah, I believe that's,
You can't do it. You can't, big truck
Can't
comes
pick it up.
in with a,
yeah.
they go
that's
straight
it.
in, they go straight out.
Yeah, those big garbage,
They don't make
Right.
turns.
there's no way.
So basically they would have to come in here and go, it'd have to be like somewhere here or
Do you know
something.
what size dumpster it is? Is it like a 6 yard? Is it like one of the smaller? 20
no,
yards?
it's a 2 yard, whatever that.
Oh.
It's not a bigger one.
It's still gonna be by a truck that has, a two,
No, no, no,
two
no.
or
Other
three
thing I
yards.
heard, they told,
Yeah.
they came twice, they see the alley, they take a measurement and they try and they said, that's what we can
Yeah.
give you.
oh, okay,
So they've already been out to look,
Yes.
okay.
okay, well, then that's good. Cause you're, like, your coffee and all like that, it's gonna be in, paper cups and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay, no check, okay. Okay.
You can see some pictures if you want.
So is this green space, is this obligatory or is this just discretionary? Because if we need to make the drive lane wider because of the wheel stops and the offset for the parking, there's parking spaces that become deeper. Do we lose parking spaces
Oh,
if
so
you do
this is
that?
another-
Yeah, this
So
is,
there's a
or,
possibility.
look, let up one,
It's a little tight. They're right at
yeah,
thirty
they have the
feet,
pastry, you know, so,
all the way at the end.
yes,
Here.
yes, there is, yeah,
Yeah.
it's minimal seating.
But this is all. Sure.
Could be to each angle.
That's nice.
It was measured by hand. and it's
Mhm.
That's nice for, I cut the little ceiling in there.
So
Yeah, it
was
opens it up.
It does,
Exactly
without having a,
18 and 22. I did the line at 20
So that's
just in
phase
case
7.
we were off a little bit, so worst case scenario, they can. Even if you had to put one or two spaces here, you would then gain.
So it is discretion.
Steve will go.
Just trying to get 9 spaces.
Why not? What's the magic number?
No, there is no magic
Okay.
number. It just seemed like what fit the best
Yeah.
and left us enough to leave some green space landscaping.
So potentially COA could come back with something that's slightly different from this as after they do their field.
Possibly they may come back and say 8 feet, 8 spaces,
Yeah.
but then you still have, like I said, at the top part of that triangle, you still have plenty of space. If you wanted to add another
Or
perpendicular parking space, or even if you wanted to add 1 or 2 parallel spaces, so 8 spaces would be at the minimum,
Yeah.
so.
So are we just reviewing this conceptually and because he wants to get a temporary UNO?
So
And then
the
we'll
temporary
see it
UNO
again.
would come back to my office once he does everything else with the county. The holdup is the county can only do certain things without the town saying, yes, this is an approved use for this building. So he's here tonight to say, I'm proposing a minimum of 8 parking spaces off street. Here's where they're gonna come in and come out and get the approval for the business type itself at that location. Now, it is an approved use in that location, so the only thing you're here for is under chapter 5 to approve the parking plan that's presented.
It really wouldn't be a temporary from us. Just-
No,
Yeah.
no, that would be, depending on how long it takes COA, then to get back with everything. And I've spoke with Mr. Woods, we are going to issue the town permit for the curb cut. So that would speed things up. He still will then, once he gets the approval for the business tonight, based on being able to provide a minimum of 8 parking spaces, then he can apply for the plumbing permits, electrical permits,
Yeah.
inspections, fire marshal, health department. They don't wanna, and I don't blame them, they don't wanna schedule inspections and if the business is then
Sure.
not approved.
Sure.
By the way,
What, do we have just the square footage, of the interior for both, well, the combined for the 2 buildings? Ballpark.
Roughly 5,400 square feet, counting the 1,000 square feet of office space above.
I know that's
so-
not under our purview, but that's not.
Four.
One of these spaces gonna be, handicapped?
Huh?
based on the request, I,
Just indoor swing out.
I don't know how, because, Mr.
Yeah.
Crump and
Yeah,
John,
do swing
they
out.
discussed,
Yeah, the one-
no clue how that work,
Yeah.
and they came up with agreement. on
Yeah.
the-
That was what. the tenant
so
wanted.
now-
Actually, fire
They
currently.
came up with
Yeah.
agreement how he wanted, how the town.
would 8 still fit with a handicap spot? Cause you know, you need, what is it, 8 foot wide or something for the egress for the handicap spot?
That's a question. Do they need one? Are they required?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
county would, I would
You
assume.
have handicapped parking
There's
across
2
the street.
handicap spaces directly to the left of the building, in front of the post office.
Right.
Yeah.
Within 20
Even
feet of
those
the
were for
building.
the post office.
They're not for the post office, they are just open public
Okay,
in the commercial district.
Is there a handicap
Yeah,
I'm on the curb side for, or on the other side of the street?
I thought there was a handicap on 7th Street, maybe not.
No, we have 2 handicap on 7th Street, right across from
7th
our
Street?
store.
Yeah,
I mean,
Oh,
Bay
yeah.
Avenue.
They have.
Yes.
on Bay Ave.
And you, on Bay Avenue, you have 1 close to the post office.
Two.
2 of
2
them.
in the post office. I thought there was someone.
no,
on
no, I
7th Street.
know what you're talking about, head on, by the fortune teller.
Right there.
Yeah, right there,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if
So-
it's 2, but I know that there is at least one.
Yeah, it's
Possibly
1
2.
right next to.
Yeah, there's one directly across.
So, okay, that resolves that.
So there's 3 within 100 feet of the.
You're ready to go, aren't you?
We are.
Okay, I've got a question. Okay, so,
In terms of readiness, ready to go.
okay, so you have customer bathroom, but that's in the main sort of grocery store area? Okay, because where the food's where you can eat and all like that and sit down, that is only employee?
The only employee access on that, yes.
Okay. The other question is, to get into where the coffee area is, you go in through the grocery section. And, right, because there's no other way in, and the only way out is an emergency exit door.
You have the main entrance and you have the two emergency. You got one emergency entrance where the coffee thing is. You got one emergency entrance where the groceries is.
Okay,
Right.
okay, that's
Yeah,
side
yeah.
1 bay. Okay, gotcha.
Is there any difference in elevation of the floor between the coffee area and the grocery stores for handicap accessibility? Are they at the same level? the
No,
floors?
for the emergency one is flat. You open, you go straight up.
No, between
Between
the
the-
coffee and the
Both
store.
sides.
It's a,
No, you have the bump.
Yeah.
So for the handicap, we will open the emergency door for them to get in.
and that still would all have to be approved by county inspections and permits.
Yeah, county will make sure that that's in order.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it possible to have a sign inside the parking lot before you exit as a reminder that you have to turn right?
There should be, yeah, because I could see
Yeah,
people
so
trying
we
to
just
wiggle.
put one in where the town's new parking lot is, a one-way thing, you must exit this way.
Mhm.
So that would not be an issue for us to be able to put one of those up or have one put up right there at the exit of the.
People will be tempted to wiggle through.
There in terms
People are wiggling now, people wiggle in North Beach.
Whatever would need to be done, it will be done. I don't.
So-
I'm
So
not-
yeah, the discussion of the
Yeah.
temporary UNO from my office, once he got going with the county, I don't even think it's gonna be necessary. If he gets the curb cut in now, that will eliminate, he doesn't have to go to the county for that. Like there's no county permit for that. That just goes to us. So by the time the grading permit is done, they can start. If they wait until they get the grading permit to put the curb cut in, then it's,
Yeah,
2 weeks behind, and then the other permits. So I don't think that the temporary from my office is gonna end up being necessary. I think that once they get going, I think they'll be able to get everything done in order like they should.
Yeah.
But what the county needs, or what he's asking for, is just the approval of the business based on the minimum of being able to provide 8 parking spaces in that lot for
Yeah.
off-street parking.
Question. Have we ever done temporary UNO before?
No, I don't think we have. And you guys, like the UNOs come from my office, but obviously your recommendations is what I would put on there. So you could definitely say that you're basing your approval of the 8 parking spaces and the business at this location, based on, if a temporary has to be issued that,
I mean, it's conditional really, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
conditional.
It's not really.
He's not opening up a business right
so it
now.
has to be
No,
conditional.
besides all the stuff for them, but it would be conditional on, you have 60 days to get it done or 90 days to get it done, or, within the business license is revoked. So all those restrictions could be applied.
Well, keeping in mind that tomorrow's Memorial Day weekend, which means summer season. And that's the most congested area of our town, especially during summer because of all the restaurants and things that are there. I'd really like to see parking there before anything happens.
Like I said, he still has all of the county permits and applications to go through. And that's why I really wanted to be able to approve, and I can do the curb cut approval anyway. I didn't have to come back to that. But if we can get that done now, then that will, when it does come time, it'll make it much more efficient. So what he's asking for tonight is approval of the business based on the parking plan of being able to provide a minimum of 8 off-street parking spaces. And keep in mind that the business type is a P, it's a fully permitted business at that location.
Again, this is only to complete the inspections and
Yes,
completeness,
just.
not to
just
open up
approval of the
business.
parking plan.
Yeah, it's not to open up
Yeah.
yet.
Like you said, we've been working, very close with the town, with the county, Nicole and Grace, and Monday, a couple days ago, we have a meeting, and we're just waiting for the approval.
Yeah, the county's been very
Okay.
helpful.
Sure,
They've been involved, everybody,
yeah,
economic development, health department,
Mhm.
inspections and permits, fire
Great.
marshal.
to try to reinstate our review, and as soon as we receive, they will receive, the permit on the system. I don't know, you want to give me temporary from the county, because just the permit process is, I was told, 4 to 6 months, the construction. So I don't know how much, but that's based on what the engineering and said. So just the construction part can take up to 2 months if that's based over or the weather, if it's not raining, if
Mm.
things like that.
Mm.
So if we go from the permit, this time is done and get approved, and now the work, it goes 6 months. So what the county, work with me closely, they said, okay, let's get approval first from the town, and we try to reinstate your review, the time John started process the permit, and they can see how the time the permit get approved, if I can be temporarily opening from the county. Because no one knows when the permit will be approved. They said it can take time. It can
Yeah,
take
so
2
his
weeks.
review has been halted because there was some lease issues, and then it had not been an approved use by the town yet. So the holdup from the town was the parking plan was not correct. And so the only thing that would prevent the town's permitted use would be not approving the parking plan. So really, what you're looking at is approving minimum of 8, possibly 9 parking spaces as being adequate for off-street parking. Which is significantly more than.
I'm fine
And
with
a
that.
lot of the other businesses.
I feel like 8 parking spaces for the amount of seating and the square footage you have and the type of store it is. I feel it's above and beyond what many businesses have. And
Well,
And
that we
I
have
think the
space to do
business will
more.
probably be
Yeah.
busier during the day as opposed to if the business busy times may be offset from what our bar and restaurant busy times are, but
Yeah.
What are the hours?
6 AM to 10 PM.
Okay, so there's overlap there.
Yeah.
And, personally, if I was going out to eat and I remembered I needed milk or something,
you run across, yeah.
I'd run across the,
Yeah.
or if I needed milk, I'd go, I might go there instead of, I remember in Chesapeake Beach, so I'd be down there trying to find a parking spot.
I mean,
When
but-
everybody's eating out.
The type of business, I think their busiest time, who knows, could be all spread out, it's hard to say.
Mhm.
We've never really had one in the beach like that, so.
Are you gonna have liquor license, beer, wine?
No, I don't do no liquor, no beer, no, just healthy. Personal, yeah.
I like, wine's healthy.
One is healthy, but I mean, if I really took so much longer to do, so I don't want any more whole, because my people are really desperate. Holding things, for liquor, because it's only here, because technically Montgomery County, DC and Virginia, beer and wine is not part of liquor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beer and wine is different.
Yeah.
But here, wine and thing is included on liquor, so that's why I said that.
I would just say again, for me, the amount of parking space is,
Funny.
I think it's above and beyond what the ratio that's found in some of our other businesses in town. So.
And people parallel park right in front on 7th.
Well,
In
there
front
is,
of that,
it
yeah.
is similar to what was the previous parking matrix. There would have been similar requirement to what was previously there. So,
Yeah. so. Any other questions, comments?
Where did you come down on the gravel?
I think
Gravel.
that as
Pea
presented,
gravel with the grids on the.
yeah, I would, I mean, that you, I'm fine leaving that up to the designers to figure out a way that our concern is about pea gravel leaving the premises.
Yeah,
There's
and
probably
I'll-
10
I'll
different
talk
ways to
I'll
mitigate
talk
it.
to COA
Yeah.
and Mr. Woods.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think there's a way to do it where there's that catch basin as you leave, even if it's just a
Even
grass
just
one.
making the depth of the curb cut and the apron a little bit longer,
So it
Yeah.
catches.
you know what I mean? So it gets more on
Yeah,
the.
so
parking
that'd be
lot
one,
side.
that, I can address that with them.
Yeah,
So we don't need to put that part in the motion.
No, I'll make sure that that's addressed.
Okay.
Like I said, I think that the grass strip, I think, is the easiest,
mhm,
because it doesn't die, the grass doesn't die, it'll just get worn down right to the top of that geogrid. And it'll catch everything. I mean, the worst case scenario is 2 or 3 times a year, they'll have to hose that geogrid out where the grass is to,
Yeah.
for any gravel that did get caught in that.
Okay.
And I'll propose a motion to temporarily provide a use and occupation, occupy.
Actually, you guys aren't doing use and occupancy, you're just approving the
Oh,
use, the
yeah.
use as a
Use and
market
occupancy
with
is,
the,
administrative.
with the tax.
Okay.
What exactly that means, right?
I'll explain everything afterwards. Yep. I can't make a motion.
Oh, what do you want me to say then? Everybody make a
You
motion?
guys are approving, the parking plan
Okay,
as submitted.
Or less.
the motion,
A minimum of 8 parking spaces.
okay, the motion to approve, a minimum of 8 parking spaces as proposed for the, 9131 Bay Avenue, business. Is that,
I'll second.
Second, all in favor? Aye, thank you very much.
I'll contact you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck. I know it's a long process, yeah.
yes, you all can applaud him. He's worked very hard on this.
Yeah. Celebrate the little victories every day.
Excavator,
5 years
that's gonna be a lot of ice cream being sold.
plus $95,000 in site development.
That's crazy.
I don't get it.
Wishing.
If you own the property, that'd be one thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's.
Yeah,
That goes-
so, yeah, so there's been a lot of work done with the county and
Yeah,
inspections and permits, erosion and sediment control, critical areas. But I never even thought about the pea gravel leaving. Normally, when they do the parking lots, that gravel will end up, it'll get pushed down into that geogrid where the black part of that geogrid should show up, so you don't get initially, you will, initially that will be a problem, but I
Are
think,
you talking about the plastic grid or the
The
cement?
no, the plastic ones.
I've never seen that work well.
Mexico, proposed that for their side.
What they have.
Yeah, but they were gonna do, some gravel or whatever, and then grass, gravel, it was gonna be like a big checkerboard. If I remember correctly.
And depending on what the cost is, they may go with the grass geogrid, like you see in the driveways.
Right.
Which would eliminate any of that issue. That may be the cheaper route, depending on what the cost is, because I know those geogrids are not,
They're not cheap.
no, recycled Pepsi bottles, but
Hmm.
they're not inexpensive.
Just have visions, tons of pea gravel going down that drain, like right there.
When I had all that pea gravel over at the, at the wheel in the back and all the roaming around and movement and everything like that, it didn't really
Yeah,
go
but it
anywhere.
didn't flood there.
What?
It didn't flood at the wheel.
This is true. This is true.
That's the thing, you know, that water, the water will lift cars. Sure, it will lift pea gravel as well.
Okay, so I do have an update on. Find it. From, Mr. Harrison, so we have talked back and forth. He's been a little busy the last month and a half, his daughter's getting married and I guess she.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
have a
you.
good evening.
My house is the one with the chain link fence. I just want to see what was going on.
Oh, on the,
Concerns?
You might get some new plants in front of it now.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
You
gonna be
should.
nice.
Yeah.
should get a little
Yeah, if
something.
you have any concerns or anything, please let us know.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Everything he's done so far looks great.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
so you feeling okay about business coming in there?
Business has been there.
Yeah.
Business has been there.
There's
for a
always
while.
been a business there.
That's right. That's
There's
true.
probably always going to be one.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep,
Great.
have a good night. Thank you for coming. So, he's been working on that. So, he is been working back and forth with Maryland Department of Planning. So the two main parts of the comprehensive plan that the state really digs into on their review is the housing and the water resources elements. They have now changed the approach that they use for their approvals. So instead of, how did you put it here? Let me get it. Instead of just a basic resolution containing amended sections of the older plan, they now want the existing plan, an entire update to it for them to review. So previously, what you've been able to do is just send
Amended text.
an amended text, say, here's what we're gonna add, and then when it comes back, then you do it. Now they want the whole thing done ahead of time for them to look at. So he's in the process of rewriting all of it now. And then, so he should be ready probably to present something probably in the next 6 weeks. He was joking with me, he said, yeah, my daughter's getting married. She's more expensive than I thought. So I guess the wedding plans are taking a little longer, but, after next week, he'll be back with the state and, should have something for us shortly. In the meantime, I did work on, and it took me a while to get it done. I've kind of been out, so it was a late edition, but I think we can probably go through it in about 25 minutes if you guys want to go through all the recommendations I made or some of the changes we needed for chapter 3.
Is that all the things that have been highlighted or is there more? Okay.
And then if you guys are good with any of the changes, I'll make the changes and then we can, I guess, Stacy, how does that work? I would make the changes, then we would schedule it for the council to look at?
No, when you do a change to the zoning ordinance, you have to have a joint public hearing between the planning commission and the town council. So if they agree on the changes, we'll have to get legal counsel to review them, then we'll schedule a joint public hearing.
Okay. And then you would do the ordinance.
Then you would do the ordinance, yes.
Yeah, because some of these are just text changes that were omitted and others were, there's a few that were just mistakes, removing certain things when we did the rewrite. But we can go through and then I guess we'll just have Karen go through and determine whether it's a change or text amendment. I don't know if there's a difference.
Okay.
Okay. So the very first one, where it shows S special exception, says uses designated with the letter S may be authorized by the planning commission in accordance with sections 17(3)(300), and so, but you guys don't do special exceptions. That's the Board of Appeals.
So some items we can review essentially administratively, like we can do it.
Well, anything that has to have a special exception has to go to the Board of Appeals for approval.
It comes to us for recommendation first.
Nope. Oh, well, I mean, I guess it does. So. no,
Even
no,
though-
No. Like vacation rentals don't come to you first, do they? They just go straight to the Board of Appeals.
Vacation rentals do not go to the planning commission, but I feel that's a discussion that we need to have if a special exception is actually required for a vacation rental, because
Yeah.
they've never been turned down. None of
Yeah.
them have
But I mean,
ever been
just in
turned
general,
down.
special exceptions are listed if you go to.
Right.
You go to the very back of chapter,
I'm gonna say, I know why I made vacation rentals a special exception, and that was it triggered the certified letter. It was sort of a way to trigger that certified letter to
Okay.
all your neighbors. Cause that was the way that me and my dad both thought that it could like definitely make sure your neighbors knew what was going on, cause it triggered. Doing a special exception
Right.
triggered the certified letter to going to people.
but if you go to the part 4, the very end of this, you go to 17.3.400 where it shows special exceptions.
Set it up. Time's going.
Those are exclusively done by the Board of Appeals.
And so currently there's most are SCs, but there are some S's here.
Yeah.
Right, small handful, like bed and breakfast. And
Now
I,
those, so if it was a bed and breakfast, or if there was one that would, where there's something that would have to come before you anyway,
Hmm.
it would, but approving of a special exception is done by the Board of Appeals.
Yeah.
So we can either, I just think it probably should say, because if you go to 17.3.400, you look under special exceptions, all of those special exception uses are determined and approved by the Board of Appeals hearing.
I only see a few bed and breakfast and
there's not many.
utilities or something. There was one other public utility shed or what, I thought I saw one other. Yeah, utility building facility, that's on there. So I'm sorry, so the proposal would be to take this out and have everything essentially SC.
Or we add Board of Appeals to the S and add both commissions as necessary. And some of them may come before you, but the special exception itself is approved by the Board of Appeals. Or we make them all SC
Yeah.
and just remove S. Either way would do it. I think if we remove S, I think that's not just a text amendment. Where this is obviously just a textual mistake. We're not changing the ordinance because the ordinance clearly says that the Board of Appeals approves those. I think, but I've made several recommendations, so it's probably gonna have to go to a joint hearing anyway. So maybe just removing the S's is the cleaner way.
So leave the text and just remove the S's or?
Just remove special exception. Or remove, yeah. Because you have to, yeah, special exception and a special exception with conditions.
Hmm.
But anything that has a special exception has to be approved by the Board of Appeals.
Does anybody have the, definition section of the zoning ordinance? Can you get that?
Chapter 9, you don't have?
I think I do.
Where are you looking for?
I wanted to see if there's a definition, of special exception.
A grant of a specific use under the provisions of Article 3, Part 4 that would not be appropriate generally or without restrictions.
So we don't have a definition for SC then.
Well, it's still special exception, it's just with conditions.
And why do we differentiate? Oh, well, I always thought that it was because the special exception with the ones that were frequent. And we were able to come up with a list of conditions like, okay, if you need this, and this, yeah, we'll give you a special exception. But the single solitary S was where conditions could vary widely based upon whatever the use was. So I don't know that I'd want to get rid of S. Because I don't think we could come up with conditions that would meet everything.
So under S, the conditions, there is a list of, what is it, 8 questions, Stacy, that they ask? 6 questions?
Yeah, it's 6 to 8. I don't remember exactly off the top of my
There's
head.
a list of questions to be approved for a special exception that the Board of Appeals has to ask and agree that the applicant meets all of those questions.
For the vacation.
Is that just for vacation rental?
For all special exceptions.
Yeah, all special exceptions.
The Board of Appeals has only done special exceptions for vacation rental since I've been here. We've never had a utility building or
It's
Really?
there hasn't been a breakfast since,
That's kind of amazing.
so.
Yeah, he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me question why we have them most.
I mean, you have,
Right now,
One.
just going backwards into the zoning ordinance I have from 2016. And where it has like S and SC, it says maybe authorized by the Board of Appeals.
yeah, it's like I said,
So at some point it swapped over for some reason.
so no, I think what happened was initially, we didn't have conditional uses as having to be approved by the planning commission. It wasn't listed there. It shall be permitted by the planning commission. And so we added that so that people had to come before the planning commission so there could be a discussion. And I think what happened was it just carried over. Like when retyping, I think it just carried over.
Yeah, it just, I,
Because it's the ordinance is clear that it's the Board of Appeals that does it, so.
I pulled up my 2016 code.
Yeah, I have a copy of just chapter 3.
So can we just change the language back?
Yeah, that's my suggestion.
All right. That sounds like the straightforward thing to do.
And then just leave the rest of it.
Yeah.
That way, depending on what the rest of it is, if we get lucky and there's not, I mean, probably gonna have, like I said, a joint hearing anyway, but that's probably the easiest and cleanest thing to do as opposed to trying to change a bunch of other things.
So we're eliminating S altogether.
No,
No.
we're gonna just change where it says may be authorized by the planning commission and replace planning commission with Board of Appeals.
Got it.
Because if you go to 3,300 and 3,404 in the ordinance, it says these can be approved by the Board of Appeals.
Okay.
So it's just, like I said, a textual mistake.
We're not getting rid of S.
No,
Oh, good, because home daycare is S. There would be certain things there that are different.
Good. So the next one is,
so the next one
Massage
is
therapy.
single family detached,
oh, right.
right? Is that right? Is that next? The
That's
next-
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a question on that one. And where are we on the intent where, any new construction, any new buildings, in the commercial area had that be retail and then residential? Where's that? Because this is just, it's saying conditional, but
So single family detached, it lists as conditional in the CM zone. but there are no conditions listed for the allowance in the CM zone.
Right, and weren't we supposed to be working on that too? Cause the whole intent was that there would be, retail
For commercial.
or in commercial.
Yeah.
in the commercial.
So that is definitely something we can dive into. The issue comes up with, do you then want to remove townhouses as being allowed? Because townhouses, there's no way to do townhouses and commercial on the first floor. They would have to be multifamily condos. But townhouses are fully permitted in the CM zone.
That C in, for a single family detached was made when we were doing it up here. And that was the Diane Burr house. And then like across the street, you have those like small 25-foot lot cottages.
Yep.
And that's all CM. And I could see somebody wanting to buy the cottage and build a bigger house. And not be allowed. So it's like the conditions were, if it was previously a single family home, it could be still a single family home, which was, I think, was the main condition.
But you said the conditions aren't there.
But they're not listed, right?
Yeah.
So whatever we had come up with or had discussed didn't make it into the
Didn't
ordinance.
make it into print.
Well, it's like
No.
this, it's like this new one, building that's being done on Atlantic
And that would
Avenue,
be-
no, not Atlantic, on,
The Diane Burr house
Chesapeake.
was.
Chesapeake, you know, that,
between Abigail
that
and
was
Southwest.
supposed to have
It was somebody
retail and
who
then,
was
then
single
Yeah, yeah.
the apartments on top of it. And
First
because of
floor.
that mix up in the way it was written,
Single-family home to now
I mean, aren't we gonna,
Well, I mean, that was the way it was written from the very beginning.
Yeah.
but the whole
The last
intent,
the last three ordinances were written that way.
Yep.
So if the intent
well, the
was to
intent was,
change the intent, would have had to change it.
right, but that was discussed in
You
the,
had to get a legal opinion on that.
right, well,
Well, that's what she said. That intent can't be only for commercial on the first floor if there's a residential aspect, because you fully permit townhouses in the commercial zone, and there's no possible way to do commercial on the first floor. They wouldn't be townhouses. You would have to make them condominiums.
what townhouses do we have in the commercial area?
We don't,
It's just the zoning.
but it's allowed.
Yeah, no, that needs to be
That needs to be looked at,
discussed.
yeah. I guess because that's been the big thing, you know, that we've got, if all this gets approved, you know, then it's gonna be another, how many
Single
years?
family attached duplexes fully permitted in the CM zone.
Right, and we need to, do conditions for that.
Boarding houses, lodging houses allowed in the CM zone.
We'll never have a real
Well, their condition.
commercial area.
They are conditional, but you're not gonna have a boarding house with a business underneath of it.
Well, you
A
could,
boarding house of business?
It's considered a residential property.
Residential, it's a unique residential use. maybe.
It's a residential use, yeah. Just like condos are a residential use.
No, but there's a difference between a boarding house and a condo, because the boarding house, you're charging people money
It's a living
to
facility.
live there,
Yeah, they're living there long term. It's not transient.
but you're charging money.
Doesn't, they may have a
The rentals
business
are
out of it, but
charging
it's considered a residential
Residential
use.
rentals are charging money too. I
It's
know
a
it's a weird
residential
thing,
use.
but, yeah.
I could argue that with vacation rentals a lot easier. A vacation rental is a business.
Yeah, but the use it's still considered a residential use.
Should it be that?
Yeah, because if you wouldn't consider it commercial, there wouldn't be commercial inspections, it wouldn't be commercial permitting, it's still residential.
but the idea though
So-
is to move, I hate to say it, when people sell their homes or when they put in more than 50% of the value of the home to rebuild it or build it up. It's, again, the intent, and it was all discussed here, the intent was, the bottom level would be,
And then I don't have an issue one way, I'm not, it doesn't matter to me,
How
I'm
do
just
we-
saying if that's the case, then
but
you have to
then
remove,
we need to,
you have to remove townhouse, you have to,
What? yeah, we need to, we need to get that resolved before this all gets passed, and then it's gonna be years again, and it's like, what was it, 2-3 doors down from the wheel, the attorney said he's buying it, yeah, he's gonna have a law office on the bottom floor, he's never once had a law office in there, I mean, he's not doing anything with that, I mean, So he bought a home, right, in the middle of.
So that's
commercial
one of the
district.
arguments. You have somebody buys a house and makes the first floor commercial. You can't force them to put a business in it.
Yeah,
You
but
can't
this
force
was
them to
for,
operate a business.
If it's zoned that way, though, you
yeah, but this
actually,
is for new development.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for new development.
new development, or
I
someone puts.
I
more
buy a
into
lot
it.
in the CM zone and I build a multi-use facility. And I put an 800 square foot office space on the first floor.
Right,
There's nothing you can do if I never lease it, I never finish it, I never put flooring or drywall on it, and I live upstairs.
Yeah, but you can't, you convert it then to the first floor to residential.
No, but do you want a bunch of empty blank commercial space? I mean,
But I mean, yes, that could happen. The chances of it.
I mean, it could.
Yeah, it could. So.
but that would be up to the individual if he wants to lose out money like that, but if we
And the
want to
truth is,
try.
I think the general thing is that this development happens over a long term. And that generally the commercial will develop more commercial and generally people don't want to live necessarily in
The
commercial.
biggest issue
areas.
comes in where you have the commercial properties that are 25 foot wide and it's very, very difficult to get.
Yeah.
A business in there that you can actually make money on that doesn't have to provide parking. Like the issues we're having on Third Street with parking right now.
Yeah.
That business is absolutely increasing that issue. And so then you have to look at the businesses that would go on a 25 or smaller lot are gonna be office businesses. Are they the same types of businesses that someone would have a home office in? Like I said, it doesn't matter to me, but if you want to keep it that way and that's the intent, then single family, detached, townhouse, all of those
They
have to be there.
work together.
Well, they
Yeah.
have to be removed.
Yeah.
They can't be allowed in the CM zone.
I would,
So then if all of those houses on Third Street, all of the houses on Second Street,
if someone went to buy one or something like that, I
and
mean,
someone buys one and wants to tear it down and build something other than an 800 square foot cottage, they then have to put a commercial business on the first floor.
right, which is something that, this commission actually told somebody who bought a piece of property on Third Street that they had to do. And then obviously it hasn't happened. They didn't build up or do anything. It's still looking the same. It's the property right next to the little park. And, the intentions were to build up. And they can't because they were told they
Like I said,
could.
it can't be both. You can't say that there has to be, you have to remove the wording that says if developed as multi-use,
If developed, if developed,
as multi-use.
no, then they don't have to do multi-use. They can just do as a residential use.
Correct.
But that's the wording. Okay, so it's
That's the
not, yeah,
current wording.
that's-
That's,
the current wording. Okay, so that has to be,
yeah, that's why we had.
So you would have to
the issue.
remove if developed as mixed
And
use.
make these other things.
And then you would have to say that boarding houses, group homes, multifamily, or multifamily you can, because that would be above and below, but you would have to eliminate the single family detached and the townhouses. And the duplexes. They would have to be eliminated from the CM zone.
or, can we limit maybe the CM zone to be more, 7th Street? Right along 7th Street
That's
or,
a whole,
I know,
changing the zoning map is.
Yeah.
Why was it?
But isn't
excluded
this the
in the
time to
first
do
place?
that? I mean, isn't this the time to do that though? If something that's part of the,
yeah,
with
it
the
is the time.
comprehensive plan,
Yeah.
if, I don't want to go there either, really. But I think if you're discussing,
The zoning
But-
map change is a big, big endeavor to undertake.
Yeah.
When you're talking about, because it might affect 8 or 9 properties.
How many did it affect when it went in the first place? Because it wasn't always there.
It affected properties on Dayton Avenue to the east. And the west, because there was some tweaking in there. It affected Second Street and Third Street because we were trying to straighten out lines. And that's where some of the fuzziness happened on Third Street, was where the lines went straight.
Yep.
And it went up Seventh a little bit to Dayton as well. Because more or less, at the time, it was trying to push, if there was any development, to keep it along the core of Chesapeake Avenue. Okay, the main street, the commercial district. Okay, which was the thought of, because Jerry, you remember, like, if we want infill density, we want it there, we don't want it further back, like, you don't
Yeah.
want apartment buildings back in the R1.
Right,
And the thought was why the R2 on the backside of the CM as a buffer between CM
And the
and
residential.
R1, which you could have the R2, which is more or less townhomes. So you could just sort of have like a slow multifamily down to a single family. But there was, the problem is where you have the CM and the W1 and the W2 is you have all of these little historic homes,
It's a little cleaner
which are
one.
small
Mm.
homes, small properties.
Oh, that's a better one.
Um,
You have that?
Does anybody in the middle, you got, terrible.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah, I don't understand why it pushed back onto Dayton, because it's like, that's carbon chunk back.
it-
yeah, that should be residential
That
strictly.
should still be residential.
And I think in the R2, single family is still allowed, right?
That's actually.
Single family still allowed in R2, yeah.
The R2 ends at Dayton. Is that the map you have? Okay.
It's the one I
But
quoted.
that's where the Ladies of Charity, the food pantry is, it's on Dayton.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it's
one. I'll get to that. That's it here as well.
Okay.
Oh my God.
This will be first, this is second, that's third.
And Liddy as a charity ended up staying in the R1 at that time.
Well, it was supposed to stay, but it got removed
Yeah.
and it wasn't supposed to be removed.
Yeah.
This scale on this is so magnificent.
Yeah, well, it's a teeny tiny.
You remember, we were going round and round on this forever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a difficult thing. I think at the time, I mean, I can say at the time that there was consensus for, trying to encourage commercial in the CM zone and not just have kind of residential and going. But then it becomes a point about, is the CM zone too big? And, how do you define it? So, I mean, what would you estimate now? How many residences are in the CM zone? You said about eight or nine?
I don't know what to tell you.
Because you got 3 on Third, right? 3 or 4,
Yeah.
three on Third.
We got some back at email.
Crash.
Yeah, just shut down on me in the middle of.
Probably country busy time right now, like 8 o'clock.
I mean, it's been plugged in until I just came upstairs.
I mean,
Jeez. What, look, hour and a half, 2 hours? Hour and a half?
I think this might be a little longer conversation.
It's gonna be a definite
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Shit, I can't even go through the rest.
You've got to get the map out and reassess and.
On Seventh Street, there's
I'll
There's
just
a-
get you
there's a
the
few-
Cleaner map.
and they're all owned pretty much by the same person. Him and Tootsie. They own, pretty much everything else.
Yeah, the residential. stuff
On,
on Seventh.
well, the block of Seventh Street,
Mhm.
Yeah.
between, those,
Yeah, like from Hook and Vine up.
Think so?
well, from Mexico went up, yeah,
Battery.
from the old Vegas,
Hmm.
which is now gonna be a brew pub.
Yeah, on Seventh Street, the one on the corner next to the West Lawn parking lot is a single family home. The one next to it's the lawyer, and then.
On the
Sudsy-
south side of
Sudsy-
7th.
Yes, and then
Mhm.
Sudsy
Right.
Mutt, the wheel, and then the rental behind the post office. And then across the street, you have the Reed's house up in the corner is still single family. Then you
2
have
or
the
3
little
there.
Beach Boy tucked all the way back. You have the yellow house in the front,
Mhm.
and then you
That's
have
true.
Hook
Yeah,
there's like
that's
four,
good.
there's like 5 on Seventh Street who are in the CM zone,
Yeah.
but are still single family homes and live in single family
And they're
homes.
all.
I mean, that's a bigger question that the town, I feel, does need to do something either with carrots or sticks to encourage that development on Seventh Street.
Right.
You know, it's a natural high street for the town. It's already got some dense, you know what I mean? That to me, I mean, that's maybe a
And
parallel
the Delta
discussion
is
to
like
have.
Weetoy is one of the old historic beach cottages that's been
Yeah.
here for over 100 years.
Yeah.
So like that's the downside where you almost don't want to lose that
All
property.
those properties, but that you just mentioned, that, okay, are all, pretty much by one person.
Yeah,
Well, why are we not focusing attention on commercial development on Chesapeake Avenue, which is our main street?
yes,
You don't have a whole lot of,
Historically,
you don't have a whole lot of residential on Chesapeake, well, that one section, but now that's being developed.
it is, but it's a busy street and a relatively small sidewalk, you know what I mean? I think the natural inclination for a lot of businesses is that I'd rather be on, you know, Bay down there or Seventh around that kind of area where it's generally a little more.
And when they had
walkable.
when you paid to have those studies done, they all went right there to Seventh. Now that sort of crossroads there, Seventh and,
Between Seventh
Bay.
and Fifth
Yeah.
and Bay and.
No,
But they also said working on the infill. of
I
the-
would argue not, just like they're saying, there's 6 houses
But
on
knowing that the
on
buffer
Seventh
of
that are
the
still being used as
Yeah.
residential.
So,
There's no comment or anything like
Mhm.
this.
No, I'm gonna, yeah.
I hate to say this, but I'd recommend that we set a date that we can maybe all Zoom together and talk about this, because this is gonna be an ongoing thing, I
Yeah.
think.
yeah,
Yeah, I know, I agree. And it's, you got 3 or 4 connected pieces here that you're gonna have to hash through. So, no, it comes back to parking. Parking is another part of that. How do you, on one hand, we had the same discussion when we did the last one thing about we want to encourage, a specific growth of commercial, in a real dense area.
Right.
But we don't have
Well,
parking, so
we're
is it
hoping that
like,
We're gonna be addressing some of the parking issues soon.
Yeah.
We did get back the preliminary, engineered site plan for possibly some one-way streets, some angled parking to add things.
Yeah.
I sent some comments back. I'm waiting for them to make a few changes. But overall, I know some people don't want, it's like 50-50 on the one-ways with, parallel parking on the opposite side. From 9th Street to First Street will add roughly 110 parking spaces between Chesapeake and Bay Avenue,
Wow. Wow.
at a minimum.
so making each one of the numbered streets one way,
Or, yeah,
basically?
I like Baltimore.
I mean, the problem you have with adding parking is you either buy land for parking, or you find a way to reconfigure the allotment of parking spaces that you have to add inventory. I don't think the town is in the process of buying land for parking at this time.
Yeah.
So that's just one option. It may not happen, they may not take it, they may decide it's not worth it, but, so.
have they done a resident survey of people that would be impacted by that plan to see where they
The
fall?
residents that would be impacted by it overall, most, the ones that I have talked to are overly ecstatic about it happening because it'll add inventory on their streets.
Mhm.
And so it would eliminate a lot of the issues that they have with parking, especially in the areas where you have residential and commercial button up against each
How
other.
far back would it go?
This is just Chesapeake today,
Oh, so just that area.
just those.
Ooh.
but the thing is like that's the first domino dominoes too. Or like we have to look at other streets and see if there's unallocated parking or undeveloped parking, like Third Street between Chesapeake and Dayton. There's a shoulder there that's unapproved, that over time has become grass, but it used to be gravel.
Mhm.
So like that is parking that we really need to recapture, but that involves storm drainage, paving or graveling or some type of curbing or something to gain that parking back. And that could be instead of parallel parking, theoretically, if you got rid of parallel on one side, you could all angle that one way or whatever. It's like you could do a couple different things there.
Yeah, there's a way that we can add to the inventory without purchasing land, and so we're just putting those proposals together to see what's gonna be most beneficial. I mean, we already know, back in the all residential area, the easiest thing is gonna be once, at some point, 20 years down the road, when there's, even if it's just asphalt gutters or asphalt curbing, you'll be able to stripe and pave those areas. So you have better use of the parking. Yeah, I mean, you remember when Chesapeake Avenue didn't have any stripes. It was, people you just parked wherever, so, part of what they're looking at is adding to the inventory and making it more efficient. I think efficiency is one of the big things.
Yeah.
If there's no stripes, if there's no designated parking, people just park all over the place. You may have 4 cars taking up 7 parking spaces.
So,
So we will skip the residential portion of the single family detached for something else. If we can just finish the rest of them, that way at least I know which changes I can make now
Yeah.
for the next discussion.
the next one, churches, other buildings.
Churches and religious buildings. Don't know why we removed it from the R1 and R2. Clearly, we did not mean to remove that and eliminate the food pantry.
So you wanna add them back?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I even had the notes from before, like it was actually a discussion saying, oh,
I
we
think
don't.
we don't need any more churches.
I think it started with that and then didn't even think that we literally had, the previous meeting had discussions about the food pantry and it going forward. And then, the C for conditional use was removed. So
So it would be C for
Yeah.
R1 and R2.
yeah, it was C for R1 and R2 and
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, is the intent, if the intent is still there, they're grandfathered, right?
then
So,
they built a new building.
oh, the new building, yeah, I
And
forgot,
so
I'm thinking
We had that discussion before they came in that, so I didn't have them present until we had the discussion saying, yes, there needs to be a text change. This was never intended to be removed. And, under G, their site plan met what the conditions were that were removed previously. And so I would just put those same ones back.
I mean, should we make that conditional or special exception? Most jurisdictions, that's well, I shouldn't say that, most
So
jurisdictions.
you can make an SC special exception with conditions and then I would just put the exact same conditions back.
Well, that works. It's a
Yeah,
little bit more restrictive.
yeah,
And then the neighbors know.
yes.
Well, never mind. I can say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you never know, someone might just walk in and say, I just bought this house, I'm making it a church, nonprofit, I don't have to pay taxes.
Well, they wouldn't be able to, see, so some of them, like with the conditions, they have to be, their building that's gonna be used as a church can't be any closer than 50 feet to any residential building. So there is restrictions where it
Okay.
So that'll eliminate
puts
anything.
some spaces out for most of the R1, R2 district, other than what's already there.
So how are we defining other buildings for religious?
Yeah,
Well, you have churches, you might have synagogues, you might have mosques, you might
Well,
have.
they're-
you could have a convent or rectory.
No. It could be a lot of buildings for religious
Could be there.
purposes.
Yeah.
Be a lot of different things.
So are there any setbacks or anything on those?
50 feet.
On that, for everything that's religious?
Churches and other buildings for religious assembly. In the R1 and R2,
Is
C,
50 feet?
conditional.
it's 50 feet.
That's
50 feet to the food pantry?
It does. Yeah, that's why I said that's why I had that discussion before we had them submit it, and then they had.
I mean, yeah.
We made sure that it was 50
That it
feet
was
from that
50.
house to the
Okay,
north.
all right.
Yep.
Good.
I'm fine with that being conditional or special exception.
But you want me to do the special exception? That way
With
they-
those conditions, I
Yeah.
mean,
It was SC before.
was it?
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it was SC and R1 and R2 and SC and W1
Oh, SCW1, okay,
permitted in
Yeah,
CM. and-
yeah, I've got the old one too, so I'm just gonna put back exactly what it was.
okay, great.
Brew
Brew pub,
Next highlight, brew pub microbrew. We can either add C limited alcohol production facilities or change the line in the table to limited alcohol production facilities. When you go to what the conditions are, it's listed under limited alcohol production facilities, i.e. tap rooms, brew pubs.
It's a naming thing, okay.
So it's, you know what I mean? It's, if you go to look for what the conditions are for brew pub or microbrew, you won't find it unless you know to look under limited alcohol production facilities.
so you just need to add that to this line here.
Or change that line to limited alcohol production facilities. See, yeah, either way,
I do,
just see limited
do it
alcohol.
to a slash. Or, yeah. you
Just
could do a
put
C
like
reference,
C,
yeah.
C, okay.
Because I wouldn't want to take out brew pub micro, because that's more explanatory than.
That's fine, yep. So I'll just add the C.
To the
And
Description?
that's
Just,
all, that's all
no,
light
just,
that's all light
just the
industry.
table
That
itself.
doesn't include any of the bars or,
No, they're
okay,
separate.
that's totally separate. But I don't see bars in here or anything
They're
like
there.
that. They are?
Yep.
Not under Bs.
No,
Okay,
This is the key here is production.
right.
then the
Light
next one
industry.
is fortune telling. I don't know why we left it. It was, everyone voted that it was to be removed.
Yeah,
I thought we did. I don't know, whether y'all did. I remember the discussion was to remove it because the, if not, we can leave it. It's just a permitted use. There's no conditions, there's no nothing.
well, I think there should be conditions on something like that because, there's a lot of,
To be licensed.
yeah,
I mean,
there's a.
what condition can you put on a fortune teller in the commercial district?
tell the truth.
Well, I mean, there's a, yeah, there's a lot of,
No financial advice.
I mean, I don't know if we can even put those.
I don't.
I think I would recommend just removing it.
Uh,
Because if someone approaches us about it and we can say it's not here, then we have to bring it up.
In my mind, fortune teller falls under entertainment.
it sure does.
Yeah, but
And I
there's,
said that of, like, it's a vendor, like, if you go to the Ren Fest, it's a vendor there. Like, in an entertainment amusements, like, setting.
Yeah, I
But
would
where would they,
agree.
I can't remember. if
but we
that-
don't have anything
oh,
for,
so do massage parlors, but you know,
Well,
you
massage
have,
parlors-
amusement. It could go under amusement
Well-
establishment. Why don't we put it there?
And I would say that of,
yeah, fortune telling could be under amusement.
and I'm just thinking of how I think of it as like Ren Fest of like, it's a. Type thing.
Yeah, move it up to amusement.
Well, amusement theaters, bowling alleys are, you don't have to, you don't have to actually, list everything that would be amusement. I mean, I would just eliminate
It
fortune
wouldn't hurt
telling.
to put that as a footnote, though.
You think?
Well, I mean,
Look at this. If they don't see it in writing, then they don't know.
Well, our
that it's-
ordinance clearly says if something's not listed or doesn't fall within one of those categories, it is not an allowed use.
And then you gotta have escape rooms, then you have to have tasting rooms, and then you have to have, yeah, you'd have to list.
Well,
every-
someone-
Is there a way to do
Well,
it?
then-
Is
then
there a way to
someone
do a
could come in here
catch-all
and
for
say,
like,
Hey, someone could apply and come in and say, I don't see escape room.
yeah,
I think that it falls under amusements,
Right,
and then you could say yes.
well, that would be the same thing with
but could
fortune
we,
telling.
if it's not, if it's just permitted?
You'd have to say that, yes, it's a permitted use as an amusement entity.
But doesn't that contradict the language you said earlier about if it's not here?
Says-
It's not listed, it's not permitted.
Yeah, we don't have the authorization to.
Oh.
That's why I'm wondering, is there some can we do, or for lack of a better word, like a
So
catch-all
it
thing,
says,
like where
if
people
the
can do a
use is
special
not
exception
listed-
for,
so it says if a use is not listed or does not fall within any of the general categories, it is not a permissive use.
Well, we
So
can
I
tell
think
them-
this body would be the one that would determine whether a use fit within a category. So if it's not listed, they would have to come to you to say, hey, does this,
Mhm.
and then you guys would have the discussion with them, their business.
Yeah, we got hatchet throwing, you've
So
got
then I
the
would-
escape
So
rooms. you got-
my suggestion would be remove fortune teller, and then they could come in and say, hey, I think this falls under entertainment, and here's why.
Right. That would be my, that's,
That's fine.
I
all right.
think that's fine.
I mean, that's just easier than trying to put a condition of telling the truth. At least then they would have to argue in a public forum that what they're offering is entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
so-
they'd be fine arguing that.
Yeah.
They don't be held liable for.
I see it in your future, that we will be here.
All right, so
Personal services, other?
fortune teller we're just removing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That could be a personal service too.
So my suggestion is we either come up with what that is or just remove it.
Personal
This
services,
is other. And I think that falls under the same issue as, the fortune teller. If someone feels that their, whatever service they're providing falls under one of the three categories we currently have, they can then come in and explain or articulate why it falls under that category.
You already have,
I mean, where would a spa come in, for example? Does that come under
So,
wellness or something?
doesn't it?
So a spa, I think, would be based on the licensing.
Yeah,
Is it, do they get licensed through the Board of Health? Like,
yeah,
is it, just a general massage practitioner just gets licensed by the state? A chiropractor gets licensed differently, an acupuncturist is licensed differently. Those would be medical. I think it really just depends on, the licensing.
Career coach. That's personal service.
Counseling.
Shopping.
But
What
those
about
people
it?
probably aren't-
What
they're
about
probably
it?
not open.
What about it like an IV drip bar? Those are up and coming.
where do they
That
drip?
would be health
Where do they
or
drip?
wealth.
vitamins.
Or-
Vitamins.
That would be help.
That would be, I think that would be under health,
That would
like,
be regulated,
like
right?
personal
That- I
coaching,
hope so.
shopping. Those people probably aren't going to have an office space or commercial property. Those
That
are
would be a
more than likely
medical
gonna be an
service.
office. Home,
Or
yeah,
medical
home,
service.
home business or.
Or they have a mobile bus and they come around, you just hop on the bus and get a drip.
If you have somebody who sets up a business for personal coach, life coach,
I would put that as a professional as opposed to a wellness, health, personal service. I think that would fall more under,
professionals usually are licensed. Like an accountant is a professional, a dentist is a professional, a doctor is a professional. We really don't have licensing for like career coaches. I'm trying to think of some of the more
Yeah,
other things.
college admissions advisor. You know,
Psychic,
things.
see, that would be more offices for professional business.
not, now they're different.
What about a medium?
I think that would be more professional
Same
office.
thing. Mediums and psychics.
That would
Yeah,
be
medium.
entertainment.
I mean, I guess the question is there any harm in leaving it there? Have you, has it caused any
Well,
difficulty?
so I don't have a problem leaving it there.
Leave it.
The problem is there's no conditions for it.
Ah. Okay.
And if we don't know what it means, how can we put conditions on it?
Eliminate it.
Well, that's why I said anything that might fall under that, I thought would probably fall under offices for professional, business, or governmental purposes, like life coaching, taxes. It would be more a professional business aspect as opposed to a personal service where you're listing grooming, wellness.
Legal, an attorney.
I'd argue life coaching is not professional, that's more of a personal.
Life
service.
coaching would
I
be
would say so.
wellness.
I think those would fall under, I think those could fall under professional services.
Or professional office. and
I think most
residence,
were,
or-
yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I said, we have it listed as conditional, but there's no condition. So if someone does come in and say, hey, I'm a life coach.
Mhm.
My business is approved under personal services, but there's no conditions for them to meet.
Mhm.
What conditions will we set? The conditions, and the reason I said I think they're different is because the conditions we have set for grooming, wellness and health are based on occupational licensing and
Mhm.
approval, where those other ones don't have that. So I don't know what conditions we would set for those types of businesses.
Why did we put it in the first place?
I have no idea.
I feel like there was a discussion, but I cannot remember anything about it. Like, I feel like there was like, what about this? And I feel like it's like, we'll make it conditional, but I can't remember anything else beyond that.
Could have been a catch-all. I mean, that's
yeah. So, sounds like we're in agreement just to get rid of it.
eliminated,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think Elizabeth had brought up and was going through, Miss Lawton was going through the grooming, wellness and the different modalities for those things. And I actually think it was just another resident had brought up, what about this or what about that? And someone said, we'll just put other. But then we never, I don't think it got discussed again, so there was no conditions for it. So you can either make the Cs permittable
No, just
or just do away
Eliminate.
with it
eliminate it because
and put those under.
they're coming up with such new creative ideas for different kinds of businesses, different kinds of things.
Well, the reason
The
I ask
IV
is because
drip,
most
okay,
of
that's-
these, when they come in and apply for their business license, Kelly, who does our water billing and our business licensing, between the two of us, we have to figure out
Yeah.
where it falls under these things. So
Where do medical things fall under? Are they under,
the medical
yeah,
would fall under either health or wellness, depending on what type of licensing they get.
okay.
Like that woman who was doing colonic, whatever, she was, the woman that was gonna be next, nice and pleasing. What was that? She was doing
Colonics.
colonics, yeah.
Yeah. no.
Yeah, that would have been, I'm not sure.
Well, no, so that would have been medical, but she didn't have the requisite medical
Yeah,
approvals from the state in order to do that.
yeah,
Um,
okay, so,
I think you're safe removing it and then you can just,
If we find we need it,
if we find we need it, you can always add it back. But I think between professional office and residence, depending on where they're at, or offices for professional, business or government purposes, or between the other three personal services, you're probably going to be able to find a generalized category that one of those things would fit in.
Okay, so we're gonna eliminate that.
Right.
please.
I think that's the easiest.
Retail sales, why is that highlighted?
I'll tell you.
Okay,
Oh, no, not the temporary concession again.
It was another one of those that we just forgot to eliminate.
what, retail sales?
No, the temporary concession, let me see what I.
No, we
We're on retail sales. I was jumping ahead, sorry.
he was jumping the gun.
I might even be wrong about that one.
It's a new trend for men to have beards. I mean, everyone.
Kidding? Beards, tattoos and Jeeps.
Yeah. No, I think the trend was there in COVID, like super accelerated, yes.
Oh,
Yeah, actually, don't even, we're gonna skip over temporary concessions, because I did find it, I just
well,
forgot.
we're on retail sales.
Retail
Yeah,
sales.
no,
Oh,
some-
okay.
you brought that.
Oh, I was just joking.
Well, we're
Okay,
gonna
so
skip over
retail
that one.
sales,
Yeah.
my suggestion is, do we want to make this two distinct categories?
Why?
So retail sales, fully permitted, right? They wouldn't come here, you wouldn't see them. The only reason I brought the patisserie here was because that retail sales had expired that was there previously. So there was no business there for 5 months, 6 months, so any grandfathering and continuance of use ended. So he had to come back here and get the parking plan done.
Mhm.
Had he moved in the day Dale closed, you would never have spoke to him. There'd have been no parking plan, there'd have been nothing. My suggestion is you make retail sales of food items or food products different from retail sales of T-shirts, tennis shoes.
That sounds good.
And then that way we can make retail sales, food related items, we can make it conditional, and those conditions would be based on the approval of a parking plan. That way, at least they would have to come in and have that discussion.
But right now you have no requirements for parking for commercial businesses.
You don't have,
Unless they're over 5,000 square feet.
5,000 square feet doesn't exist.
Okay,
You don't have a matrix or a mathematical way to determine this is how much parking you has to have. What you have in chapter 5 says that businesses that need approval must present a parking plan that is approved by the planning commission.
Why do
Doesn't-
we not?
I have no idea. It was removed before I started working here. That'll be next month when we come back. I'll have chapter 5 done and my recommendation.
So you're saying by just being a permitted, that means there's no parking review, basically?
But because there was no business there,
so we're
Um,
gonna,
is
for
there
restaurants, though, we're gonna have, change it from permitted then to, that's gonna be I mean,
it's not retail sales.
the restaurants, just like,
So a new restaurant would be a change in use, which would come back here, would have to have a parking plan. Somebody that,
Restaurant,
if it, then no,
like turnkey.
then nothing.
If it was expanded?
I mean, if it was
Same- same
expanded, if it was expanded, they had to come back to the planning commission for approval of the expansion of the building or an addition, then parking could be brought up. But if I bought Hook and Vine and just put another restaurant in there and called it Hook and Vine too, I wouldn't have to present any parking, but you would never even see me.
And what's the limit in time? 90 days or
Or,
for
90 days.
expiry of 90 days?
actually, I have to double check. I believe it's shorter than that, but I believe we've done 90 days in the past.
so we would change retail
Like the
sales
other
to
business
retail
selling.
sales
I believe
of
it's
food.
legally, I think the law is 30 days, but I believe we have done 90 in the past.
Okay. Even 90 is almost impossible for a business to sell and get a new, because you can't apply for a C of O before you purchase, you have to have, right?
Yeah, so I mean,
You
it's,
have to have at least.
Well, in this condition, like with the Elsie place, he's not purchasing, he's leasing.
Lease, you could have a lease, yeah. Quickly.
Okay, so the retail sales, we're gonna divide that into
I
retail
was just
sales.
one question on the retail sales on the food. I mean, isn't that a
And-
grocery store basically? But we don't have any grocery kind of
We
thing.
will,
We
I
will.
mean, we will now.
but, so
Well,
we're
I'm
gonna
just
separate,
wondering, retail sale food to me is a market or grocery
well,
kind of
that's what
thing.
he's gonna have.
Well, as I said, we don't have that use, so the only use there was retail sales, which is what it is.
What was for Chesapeake Bounty when they were there? What was the,
Before Chesapeake Bounty.
when they were there, what were they considered?
Retail sales.
I
Okay,
think that's it.
What about Bay Wine?
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it
liquor
seems like
store,
grocery
alcohol.
market.
Prior to this,
They also serve,
Are you gonna propose?
They don't serve, they don't
Yes.
serve food. I think people bring
No.
food in.
they serve
I
drinks,
have
they
two,
serve
and you can
wine,
have the
and then
one
they
from
retail
previously.
sell
Right.
wine, right?
Yeah.
I have that one, I have one from 2012, and then I have
So they
another
fall under
one
that,
that's.
catch-all
little
of,
I mean, are there
taverns,
calculations
nightclubs,
that are
lounges.
standard for those that the county or other counties use?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a
they-
couple, I found one that's a little more generic, that's not like a algebra equation to figure out
Yeah,
what it takes.
What would a dispensary be?
Medical.
For example, retail and service.
And that's coming-
Space
that-
for each 200 square
That is
feet.
coming up. That's gonna be where the old fortune teller was. You can do blood and stuff, so that'd be health services.
I mean, the issue with that on the parking scale is always, different areas have different ratios for that. Depending on if
Yeah.
it's a town or a county or, what
Yeah,
kind
and
of.
so one of the ones I have is based on a small town like this where you're requiring off-street parking, but some of your commercial district, it is absolutely impossible to
Yeah.
to provide that. So part of what it tells you how to do is in your parking plan, you need to be able to show where you think this percentage of parking can fit into the type of business that you have.
Yeah.
And it also takes into account telling the proposed applicant, you also need to let us know when you think your busiest time is going to be.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're open from 9 to 8 at night, but you think the majority of your business is gonna come between 10:30 and 1, well, that's not usually a busy time in a small town.
yeah,
So it helps equate how much parking is actually needed. But I think we have to put something back in there.
okay.
Okay,
So what, any preference from your side, whether this is you said retail for food, or like I was saying, it kind of starts to become a grocery or market kind of definition, doesn't it? It's,
Yeah, I never thought about it until I had to figure out
yeah.
where I was gonna
yeah.
fit him in, and I mean, it is retail sales, but it's
Yeah.
not the same as, the boutique that it's retail sales and she's selling vintage clothing.
Yeah.
It's completely different. So I don't know if we do retail sales that requires health department approval, or we just put food and non-food
What's a candy store?
retail sales.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't make anything on site, everything was packaged. Right?
And
well, like he's not gonna make anything on site.
No, anything that would be made on site would be a restaurant.
the ice cream shop.
Restaurant.
Biggest restaurant?
Yeah, but some groceries and markets make things.
Well,
on
do you wanna do a
site.
separate one then, like a grocery or slash market, food market?
Yeah, but that's retail, it is retail sales, like the county looks at it as retail sales.
Yeah.
But
What about, there are, I mean, even Rollins makes some prepared
They have-
food.
They
to
have,
go, right?
they have several different things in their business license.
Yeah,
They have the retail sales, they also have, a restaurant.
Well,
It's a restaurant with a,
Chesapeake Bounty had to go through the health department and everything like that, even though they didn't really make any food there. The minute you know what Veronica would say, the minute you slice an apple, whatever, you have to get, you have to
well,
get
that's a
approval.
restaurant, right?
I had a restaurant license
It's,
because I would put a lemon in your whatever drink.
Yeah.
So I was,
gotta have food with the alcohol.
well,
No, yeah.
yeah. And if you serve ice with drinks, that's
So
also.
I can work on that too, retail sales food, or, like I said, I don't know, well, we can leave it retail sales, but if
So
the,
would food be conditional and non-food would be permissible?
I think food would be conditional based on health department approval, parking plan, maybe because realistically, so if somebody wanted to start selling, hot dogs and popcorn out of the boutique that's above the post office right now, and they were able to open up within 30 days of them closing down, it would not be, as far as our zoning is considered, would not be a change of use.
I think it makes sense to make the food, make the distinction with.
Or if they want to put a candy store in there, it wouldn't be a change of use. It'd be, as far as our ordinance is considered, the candy store or a t-shirt shop are the exact same thing.
We used to have food or grocery store.
Back in the 80s. Yep.
Well, what is the Dashin? I mean, they're a
It's a gas
restaurant,
station.
they make food, they serve, you can buy food there. So they're just strictly a gas station.
The gas station with to-go food, it's the carry out. Different
Right.
than a restaurant.
Well, different than a restaurant, but I mean, it's conditional, they had to get special help, you have to get licensed and everything. I think anything to do with food, you have to be, some conditions, you just can't say, go for it. Okay,
And I only made a suggestion, just. I made suggestions so that we are finding ways to have more discussions with potential businesses than less.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think benefits everybody, benefits the businesses, the residents.
I mean, presumably retail sales, you don't need any type of licensing, right?
Business license.
Yeah, just regular business
Right,
license,
you
whereas when you get into food, you do, right? And so I think maybe there is a distinction that needs to be. That warrants a separate line.
But
Right?
when you say food, we're talking about you're talking about prepared food, retail food. Right, Twinkies and
Sure.
potato
yep.
chips, right? So is that much different than a bar of soap?
Is the licensing different, do you know?
For the town.
Is there?
No, I mean,
If
like
it's
for the state,
prepared
for
food,
example,
you
you
don't
know,
have to
get-
worry
they
about
have
it.
to get different
That doesn't make
inspections,
that
like you can't open a
distinction.
grocery
It just
store
says
Right.
food
and
and
not have
non-food.
the health
Yeah,
department inspect it.
yeah.
The health
Candy
department doesn't
bars
inspect the
and-
I mean, I
t-shirt
think
shop.
that's the distinction.
Yeah, when I had
Sure.
this
It's health
package,
department inspections, right? When you sell food, it's different than selling. I don't know about a bar of soap though. I don't know where that comes in, but that is a distinction where if you're selling t-shirts, you don't have health inspections for that.
Do
But if
you
you're
need a
selling-
health department for selling packaged food?
No,
Yes,
no,
you most certainly do.
I didn't.
He has to have full health department inspection for this business, and he is going to sell 100% packaged goods.
Does he have to get it because of the coffee?
Coffee is,
Yep, so that's
Yeah.
prepared,
it is,
Because he's making the coffee there, right?
making the
It-
coffee.
I don't want to say too much about his business, but no, coffee has nothing to do with it.
So
Okay,
anyway, for me, there is a distinction there. If you're having to get licenses from health department for whatever reason, that then expands the retail into a different where you need
Or
conditions.
even just from our perspective, does retail sales of a t-shirt shop drive more parking needs or more, or any other concerns that we might not have,
Yeah,
or that we, that you might have with a grocery store
Yeah.
or a market or something of that nature?
Yeah. You could, I mean, not to be devil's advocate, but you could have a high volume retailer like, I don't know, CVS or something, you know what I mean? There, I guess
Yeah.
you could,
Or we can leave it. Like I said, I just put the suggestion because I know the only reason that I had to bring the patisserie before the board was because it wasn't an existing use, because that use had expired.
Yeah.
So then the parking plan had to be, chapter 5 talks about the parking plan. But if it hadn't, had Dale stayed open and he had gotten all of his inspections done prior to Dale closing, he would have just been able to open.
I think they should be two different. Right, the reason for going to retail sales in the first place, I think, was to eliminate the list of things that we used to have.
I think it was to
Yeah.
condense some stuff.
And personally, I just think that was such a great idea.
All right,
That's
I
just
will,
my
what
opinion.
what I'll do is I'll look and see what the county does in some of the other places, some other small towns, how they separate the two, because we're coming back for the other, the top end too, so we'll just move past this one. temporary concessions, I found what I was looking for with that. I couldn't find the conditions for use, but they are there. They're kind of all over the place. So that's where the last one I have, I believe it's the last one. No, there's one more.
Massage therapy.
No, that'll be the last one. This next one is 173301, the condition standards. So I recommend that we change the way they're listed so that they follow the use table.
That would be good.
So that when you're looking under residential, the conditions for residential would go in order, and then the conditions for institutional would go in order.
It's just an organizational change.
Just an organizational change. Just because like when you look for them now, you have to go page to page, back and forth. They're not in the order that they're listed in the use chart.
Makes sense to me.
Okay. And then I believe the last one,
Massage.
massage therapy, I don't know why it was left in. I think it was just another mistake overlooked. We were supposed to take it out because it falls under the personal services category. And then my only other recommendation is that we add massage therapy to the Chapter 9 definition so that we can leave item 3 in there about what massage does and does not include.
When do you think you'll have these changes made?
Before the next meeting.
You're only gonna keep number 3. Item 3 in the new conditional.
Yeah, because under the no, not just number 3. Use number 3 as in the definitions because we don't have the definition. But then when you go to under the personal services, they have to have their state licensing requirements. All the things they need to have are listed there.
That statement under number 3 needs to be somewhere. And I think putting it in definitions is a good idea.
Yeah, and number 2 doesn't really make sense. Incidental to a principal medical or spa use. What's a spa use? I mean, you should be able to just go get a massage. That is a spa use, right? I mean, do I have to go get a manicure or a pedicure to get a massage?
I would have thought that would have meant that it would.
But a
be
massage is,
in
there are generally medical reasons that you have to have a massage.
Suppose I just want a massage.
Isn't that under health, personal health?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. So I just wanted to eliminate L altogether and then use number 3.
As a condition of.
No, use number 3 as
As
in the
definition.
definitions because we don't have a definition of massage in Chapter 9.
Okay.
Or for number 3. Yeah, but that's a crime, so.
Yeah, I looked, the county,
Nothing ever went to one.
the county has it in their definition.
Yeah,
Um,
okay,
everybody has that. I think that's a generic statement that
Yeah.
everybody uses, so we just don't have the definition. We just,
Those are the pictures of, what the place is gonna look like. He left them here.
I think, yeah, what he's already done, I guess. Okay,
I think I have anything else.
that it?
Nope, that was it. We're gonna go over, a couple of the other ones.
And then, the only other thing I had, it's not a highlight, but we do have, there are several things within the ordinance. If you go to Chapter 9 and try and find a definition, we don't have one. My suggestion is we just take the definition that the county uses now, would make it easier, so I'll pull those definitions out from the county ordinance. And then we can add those to Chapter 9.
That sounds great.
And now that I've ran you guys to 9 o'clock, I don't have anything else.
Thank God, okay. You worked us this time.
Good, good. I'm glad things are moving forward with the market. Yeah, I do feel bad. Are we still going on the? Yeah, well, wait, why don't we?
Close the meeting.
Yeah, why don't we close the meeting?
Yeah, let me,
Oh,
let me stop the recording after you close the meeting and then y'all are free to discuss.
Okay.
In motion to.
Any other business, first
any other-
off?
Oh, never mind.
Not that I want any other business. Okay. Can we get a motion to close the meeting?
I'll do a motion to close the meeting on this.
Second, all in favor?
Right.
Let's turn that off.
Let me stop the recording real quick.